Imagine coming from absolute poverty to becoming the most expensive baller on the planet. This is the story of how Neymar rose from poverty to the top.
It's Neymar! Neymar hits it! Oh, what a goal!
And from the beginning, according to his dad, he's always been blessed. Neymar was born on the 5th of February 1992 in the city of Sao Paulo in Brazil. And yeah, he was born in poverty too. His dad, Neymar Sr., used to play the game back in the day, but he picked up a lot of crazy injuries over the years and this kind of forced him into an early retirement. Meaning from the on, Neymar and his family had very little, or most times nothing at all. In fact, it was so bad that Neymar usually recounts an old story of himself growing up to describe how bad the situation was. One day I asked my mum if we could get cookies and she said we couldn't afford that yet. And maybe if they paid my dad by next week we'd be able to. And then I told her not to worry, that one day I'd become so rich that I'd be able to afford anything I want to eat. That was how Neymar always saw it, man. He had to grind hard to reach the top. See, Neymar knew he was bound to make it big, especially after hearing the story of how he almost never grew up as a kid. 4 months after he was born, one day his family decided to go visit a couple of relatives miles away. And because Neymar was still a young kid growing up, they couldn't leave him behind. So they strapped him to the back seat and started the journey. But minutes later, Neymar Sr. was about to realize that he'd made a huge mistake. The rain kept hitting hard and pretty soon, a heavy storm broke out that blurred their vision. And before they could understand what was going on, their lives flashed before their eyes. Soon after the crash, Neymar Sr. and Neymar's mum woke up with blood on their faces. They began looking for their son. Only thing is, they couldn't find him. They immediately called the rescue team to report the crash and began praying hard, just so their son could live, when they heard a cry from a distance. Neymar Sr. traced the sound and there Neymar was, a cut on his forehead, still alive. They rushed him to the hospital and as he came out okay, Neymar Sr. knew he was blessed, that his kid was gonna one day become something big. But that didn't mean his oath to greatness was gonna get any easier, because if anything, it became harder. Now, they'd become so poor they couldn't even afford to pay the electricity bill or rent, and to cut costs, Neymar and his family had to go move in with his grandparents. Still, despite all the negativity around his growing up, Neymar had something positive going for him. The one thing that always made him smile every time. The game his dad loved too, football. Neymar was obsessed with the beautiful game and pretty soon his entire neighborhood got to know about his talents. Neymar made everything look easy, and by 11 he'd become so good that he was one of the best kids around. And a scout from Santos decided to take him in. But you see guys, it wasn't just the scout from Santos keeping tabs on Neymar. Apparently the guys over at Real Madrid had been hearing about this kid they thought could be the next big thing. So they sent Neymar and his dad the chance of a lifetime, a ticket to come play for the Madrid youth team. They flew Neymar and his dad over. Neymar got to see the superstar ballers in Madrid, like Ronaldo Nazario, Robinho, Beckham and Zinedine Zidane, and with the world-class facilities at Madrid too. All this would have been enough to convince any kid to come play for Madrid. But for Neymar, his heart just wasn't there yet. Why? Because he was homesick. Neymar had missed the guys he grew up with, missed playing ball with his buddies on familiar turf, and because of that, he wanted to go home. But his dad knew his future was on the line, and he couldn't just let his kid pass on an opportunity like that. So Neymar Sr. came to the rescue, told Santos to at least try to match Madrid's offer for his son, and Neymar would stay. And once they did, Neymar was officially on his way to becoming the best in the world. Now at Santos, he was determined to tear it up. Week after week, Neymar kept getting better. From dribbling to scoring goals, assists and tricks, he had everything and had the team selling tickets because people wanted to watch him play. After impressing for the Santos Academy, it was clear that Neymar was a cut above the rest and he was ready for first team football. So in 2009, Neymar made his debut for Santos aged 17, and that debut season he continued to impress. Neymar finished with a decent 14 goals in 48 games, but it was at the Campeonato Paulista Easter that Neymar hit it hard. 14 goals in 19 games for Santos on their way to winning the whole thing. And at this point, Neymar had started catching the spotlight of the whole of Europe. Now, the big European teams wanted him to come play for their main teams, but it was the clubs from England who showed huge interest. West Ham and Chelsea. Imagine Neymar rocking up for West Ham. Yeah, I know, it sounds like a career mode random transfer glitch. While Neymar never really took the West Ham transfer seriously, according to him, he almost considered going to Chelsea and was even preparing for a move away to the club until he had a change of heart last minute and decided to stay. And I bet that had something to do with Pele telling him to stay for one more season at Santos. Who knows? Anyways, Neymar decided to stay, also because he probably wanted more game time heading into the 2010 World Cup. And even though he didn't make the team, Neymar had now proven he was ready to become world-class talent, and in 2011, he got his big moment. 42 goals in 60 games, and that Copa Libertadores form was hard. Neymar had scored 6 goals on their way to the final, where he also scored as well to help the team win the competition for the first time since under Pele. Add that to some impressive stuff at the Club World Cup later that year, where he helped his team reach the final against a prime Barca side, and Neymar was the talk of football. That year he won the Puskas Award as well, and even made the top 10 Ballon d'Or rankings too. World-class stuff. In 2011 and 2012, Neymar carried his amazing form into the new season. 43 goals and 10 assists in 47 matches. And in 2012 and 13, he was now the most hyped Brazilian ever, with a lot of clubs after his signature again, because now it was clear a move to European football was on the cards. But just before settling his club football future, Neymar had some business to do with the national team. At the Confederations Cup of 2013, all eyes were on Brazil's star boy. Now wearing the iconic number 10 kit at a major tournament, Neymar was expected to deliver, and he did. He scored 4 goals and 2 assists in 5 games, as Brazil won the competition on home soil, including this golazo against Spain in the final. Damn, he had Casillas attempting to recreate the Jordan logo for a set. Neymar was now a huge prospect, and it was almost impossible to hate the guy. He had the talent, looks, and had even subscribed to Mr. Football already, a certified baller. 2012-13 was Neymar's final season at Santos, because in the following campaign he was ready to make the step up and go big time, and his next move was going to put him on the brink of greatness. Barca came calling, and Neymar and Santos accepted a $57.1 million offer to let him leave. This move was going to be the start of something great for Neymar, and for South American football too, because they now had 2 of the best players in the world playing on the same team, Messi and Neymar. Dream stuff. At least that's what it looked like on the pitch, but off it, Neymar hadn't quite settled yet. And one day it was even reported that Messi came into the locker room and saw Neymar crying because he was struggling to find his form. That season, Neymar racked up 15 goals and 15 assists in 41 games. Pretty decent stuff for a first season move to a club like Barca, but Neymar knew he was capable of dropping even better numbers. And that's why at the World Cup of 2014, he came in with a statement. This one was way bigger than the Confederations Cup, but the weight of expectations on Neymar's shoulders was still the same. Neymar came into this one as Brazil's star man, just like he'd done months earlier, and he started off great too. In the opening game versus Croatia, he scored a brace, and the team fought to a comeback 3-1 win. Scored another 2 goals versus Cameroon in the final group stage game, and in the match versus Colombia in the quarter-finals, he bagged the assist for Brazil's opener. But sadly for Neymar, that was going to be as good as it gets, because for him, minutes later in the same match, this happened. This collision with Juan Zuniga from Colombia almost cost him his life. See, the injury ruled Neymar out of the World Cup, but he didn't know it yet. And that's why he had that confused look on his face when the doctors told him they had both good and bad news. Neymar asked for the bad news first, so they told him, "You're out of the World Cup." The good news, if that injury had been a centimeter lower, you'd never be able to walk again. Another miracle. The injury Neymar suffered was a fractured vertebrae in his spine, keeping him out for months. But in the end, he made his comeback in the 2014-15 season with Barca, and this one was going to be a season he'd never forget. Barca had stacked up. In attack, they'd added Luis Suarez to the mix, and together with Messi and Neymar, the MSN was born, and they went on full rampage. In the 2014-15 season, Neymar hit the levels everyone had been expecting him to. 39 goals and 10 assists in 51 games. But these stats didn't even finish the story. Suarez scored the goals and Messi bagged the highlights, but Neymar was magic. He recorded an impressive 10 goals in the Champions League that season, finishing as joint top scorer alongside Cristiano Ronaldo and Lionel Messi. Scored the clutch third goal in the final and was now in the mix to win football's biggest prize, the Ballon d'Or. That season, the award ultimately went to Messi, but it was clear Neymar had made his mark in the game, and he was only going to get better. In 2015-16, his campaign got rigged by injuries, but he still managed to rack up 31 goals and 25 assists in 49 matches, and won Olympic gold with Brazil in Rio. But it was in 2017 that Neymar peaked at the Nou Camp. Now guys, don't get me wrong, it wasn't his best season from a numbers standpoint. 20 goals and 26 assists in 45 games. But Neymar's performances in big games were clutch, and it didn't get any bigger than that game against PSG. The Champions League round of 16 first leg, and despite having the MSN fully fit, PSG lost this 4-0 and looked buried and out. At the time, no team had ever managed a comeback from 4 goals down in Champions League history. So I guess you could excuse even the strongest Barca fan for not exactly having faith in this one. But if there was one dude who refused to give up hope, it was Neymar, because in the second leg he came to the party and dropped a masterclass. 2 goals, 1 a penalty, and got the game-winning assist for Sergio Roberto to win the match 6-1 on aggregate. He'd starred in the biggest comeback in Champions League history. But once again, it just left like Neymar was never gonna get his flowers full on, because most of the praise went to Messi, and this time he had enough. All his career, Neymar kind of felt like he was always destined for more, to become the main man. And at Barca, no matter what he did, he was always going to be seen in comparison to Messi. And that was it. So when in the summer of 2017, PSG had been watching his situation unfold, and after seeing the performance he dropped on them months back, they decided to make Neymar an offer they knew he won't be able to refuse. $222 million. And this deal was going to make Neymar become the most expensive signing in the game's history. Neymar said yes, and he was off to Paris. The end of a beautiful spell at Barca, but now at PSG, Neymar was undoubtedly the new face of the club, and this was his chance to show the world that he could do it on his own. But let's just say it didn't go as planned. In his first season at PSG, 2017-18, Neymar, 28 goals and 16 assists in 30 games, helped the team win the league, French Cup and French Super Cup. But in the one that really mattered most, Neymar couldn't deliver, the Champions League. PSG got knocked out by Real Madrid in the round of 16, but there was no time to dwell on that, because in the summer, Neymar was off with the national team on a mission. 4 years on from 2014, Neymar was back in the team at the 2018 World Cup, with something to prove. But looking back at it again, the only thing Neymar proved was his haters being kind of right. He looked off. He had more dives than I've seen Olympic swimmers complete, as getting fouled a lot, which really wasn't his fault, but then again, Neymar was way below par. This had to do with the injuries he'd suffered in the past. But at the level he showed over the years, it should have been better. In total, Neymar spent 6 years at PSG, scoring 118 goals and 77 assists in 173 games. Helped them reach the Champions League final in 2020, and even got to play with his close buddy Messi later in Paris. But in the end, this time in the French capital never worked out. The injuries became too much, plus with Kylian Mbappe taking over, Neymar became second fiddle again. And these days at 31, he now plays in the Saudi Pro League with Al Hilal, where he's recovering from an ACL injury he suffered last year. Damn, Neymar's career is a lot, but it could have been even more if he'd calmed down a bit. He still isn't doing bad now because living in Saudi has him balling like a king. It isn't just him too, there's a bunch of other superstar ballers like Cristiano Ronaldo and Karim Benzema bagging the bag of a lifetime in the Saudi Pro League and spending like crazy. So I made a list of how the top football stars live in Saudi Arabia, and it's all in the next video.